All right, welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Clyde Sukeforth chapter of SABR. I am Bruce McClure, the chapter chair, and we always hold our meetings in conjunction with the Gardner Waterman chapter of SABR in Vermont, Dr. Clayton Truder, chair. Now, before we get started, I want to take a moment to thank everyone from the Elysian Fields chapter, especially Donna Muscarella and Paul Semendinger. And where's Craig? Craig's on this call. Craig, where are you, my man? Did he have to drop off? I think he had to drop off, but Craig Garrettson was in that list too for another fabulous weekend. Their Celebrate Baseball event at the Yogi Berra Museum in Little Falls, New Jersey was an incredible success with 85 baseball fans taking part. We'd also like to thank the Yogi Berra Museum, especially Eve, I'm going to butcher this last name, Shannon, executive director, and Lindsay Barra herself, who stopped by to enjoy the day, taking time out to give me a tour of the exhibits on her home, and I really appreciated that. It was a fantastic day, and all of you deserve kudos for such an exceptional event. Good job, guys. All right, on with our feature presentation. Now, we all like baseball, right? We're here for the baseball. And many of us have done some crazy things to watch baseball or to get to a game. But I got to tell you, it takes a special kind of fan to stay up till 3 a.m. to watch baseball from the other side of the Pacific, or to spend thousands of dollars to visit Japan just for the sport. Tonight's presentation will help you discover what makes NPB games such compelling experiences, and maybe you'll find your new favorite NPB team and player in the process. The book written by this evening's guest helps make Japanese baseball more accessible to a broader range of fans. One of SABR's newest members, Gabriel Lerman, is an IT consultant by trade and a Japanese baseball fan by passion. Having visited all 12 Nippon professional baseball teams by train in 2019, he's written a travel guide for fans wanting to follow in his footsteps. Gabriel has also gotten behind the mic, providing English play-by-play and voiceover for some games. And he's here tonight to discuss Japanese baseball, his travel guide entitled Japan Ball, Travel Guide to Japanese Baseball, and his fandom journey. He lives in Toronto with his wife, Nancy, and 2 cats, Yogi and Mickey. Gabriel Lerman, welcome to Northern New England. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, although I am wondering when baseball is going to start. It was snowing here in Toronto earlier today. Thankfully, the sun is poking back out again.
I came home from that event that we just talked about in New Jersey Monday, and I had 4 inches of snow on ground that had no snow when I left. So I feel your pain. Gabe, it's all yours.
Sounds good. So, my fandom journey for Japanese baseball begins thanks to my best friend Nick. He was teaching English over there in 2013, and naturally I had to go visit him. What are 2 Toronto Blue Jays fans supposed to do? Go to the ball game. I wasn't expected to be absorbed by the atmosphere, the cheering, the inexpensive food and drink, the inexpensive tickets, and the quality of play that has kept me coming back ever since. In 2019, the 2 of us visited all 12 teams. In 2021, I started doing voiceover work for one half of NPB, or Nippon Professional Baseball, the top tier pro league there. And that journey combined led me to release the book that Bruce was mentioning. There are 2 shameless plugs in this presentation. I will call them out when they arrive. Brief agenda of what we're going to be doing here, discussing what leagues there are, an overview of what happened last season, a capsule on each of the 12 teams, their history, and things that may appeal to you, familiar names to help sway your decision, how you can follow the league from North America, the role Japan Ball has played in growing the fandom, other useful resources you can use to keep abreast of what's going on, and the most important part, going to a game. If you take nothing else away from this presentation, it's that you have to go to a Japanese baseball game before you take your dirt nap. It is far and away the best in-game experience you'll ever have. And baseball has been in Japan for quite some time. It's been said that if America didn't bring the sport to Japan, they would have invented it themselves. We're talking about shortly after the Meiji Restoration, over 150 years ago. But because the game's roots are in amateur play, the amateur sport still thrives and at times takes a bigger, more prominent space in the media. The high school tournament called Koshien is not only the namesake of the ballpark in which it plays, it predates pro play and will kick the pro team out of that stadium for 3 weeks every single August. Imagine March Madness as a single elimination baseball tournament with every high school from across the country. Legends are written there, even if they don't make it to the pro leagues. And even during World War II, baseball continued. They just had to remove the English team names to avoid any foreign influence. The American occupation helped restart the league, which is how it got its two sub-league setup, similar to the American National League in North America. That's how the Pacific and Central Leagues got created. 75 years ago today was the modern NPB's start date. 75 years ago this season, I should say. And because of that deep history, there's also some reticence to change. If you're looking for pitchers who bunt, the Central League remains the only top-level pro league that does not have the designated hitter. I honestly don't know if they'll ever adopt it. Here's a quick summary on what happened last season, so you can be caught up and speak to it knowledgeably with your colleagues in the SABR world. The Yokohama DNA Bay Stars, based in Yokohama, came back from a 2-0 deficit to defeat the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks in the Japan series. The Bay Stars finished just above 500 and proceeded to win the first, second, and third rounds of the postseason as the third seed of 3. It's the Bay Stars' third championship in franchise history. The most recent was in 1998. The Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters ended their 6-year postseason drought, finishing second in the Pacific League and winning the first stage before bowing out to those Hawks in the final stage before the Japan series. And you will note the name structure. It's not Nippon Ham Fighters. It's Nippon Ham Fighters. They have no quarrel with ham. On the inverse of that, the Hiroshima Toyo Carp went 6-22 down the stretch. They started that run in first and ended out of the postseason in fourth. It's interesting to see how the team will rebound from that. Based on performance, 5 managers lost their jobs last year, including half the managers of the Pacific League. You may recognize one of those names as Kazuo Matsui. For a time, 5 different Mets alumni were managing in the Japanese leagues. And in the first half of the season, there was a dead ball. Home runs were down 59% in the first 2 months of the season, as per NPB analyst Jim Allen, and only 2 players hit more than 30 over the entire run of the season. I am hoping, for my favorite team's sakes, that the mush ball is gone and we have something closer to a reasonable performing baseball this year. So let's get right to it. Let's find your new favorite team. If you are a Yankees fan, I'm sorry, you are by default a Yomiuri Giants fan. They have the deepest history in the league, the most championships, including a stretch in the mid-60s to 70s where they won 9 in a row, and the biggest media presence in Japan. You'll often find that people are either Giants fans or anti-Giants fans. Very polarizing team. But if you wondered who Sadaharu Oh, Hideki Matsui, and those players, that's that kind of caliber of player. There's a lot of folks in the Hall of Fame with a Giants cap on. Their Tokyo cousin is the Yakult Swallows, equivalent to the Mets in terms of personality. They just don't have Steve Cohen's Bucks. In the first half of this decade, they went worst to first and then back to worst. At least they got a Japan Series championship in 2021 out of it. Their ballpark was constructed in 1926, hosting the collegiate Tokyo Big Six League, and is one of 4 left in existence that that had Babe Ruth play on its grounds. The others are Wrigley, Fenway, and one of the others here in the Central League. The fans also have a fun habit of bobbing umbrellas up and down when their team scores a home run. People assume it has to do something with the opposing pitcher hitting the showers. I mark the DNA Bay Stars as the Astros equivalent because they are the most recent Japan Series winner and they seem to have a really strong core of player development. They just, don't have the asterisk around a previous championship. Also, Yokohama Stadium, their ballpark, was the home of the Tokyo 2020 Olympic baseball games. So they've had Olympic gold won on that field as well. It's what I call the textbook definition of a Japanese baseball experience. The Chunichi Dragons, playing in Nagoya, are the Angels equivalent, I'm sorry to say. They've had a decade of postseason drought that doesn't seem to be finishing anytime soon. They have a lot of pitching, they just don't know who's scoring. However, if you've seen the movie Mr. Baseball featuring Tom Selleck, this is the team he played for. Big hit, happy body. The Hanshin Tigers is the Chicago Cubs equivalent, but with the Red Sox rivalry heat. They are the Maple Leafs to the Giants Canadiens, the Red Sox to the Giants Yankees. But they have the Cubs curse around it. From 1985, when they last won the Central League pennant, to 2023, they finished in the cellar more often than not. They had only one championship in their entire franchise history until 2023, when they finally broke what people call the curse of the Colonel. That was when, in celebration of their pennant win, they started throwing people into the canals in Osaka who looked like the players on the team. But they couldn't find anyone who looked like Randy Bass. Big, bearded, blonde, American. So what did they find? A Colonel Sanders statue at the nearest KFC. They chucked it in instead. The Tigers also are the most obnoxiously passionate fan base. There are entire bars and pubs in the Osaka, Kobe, and Kyoto area dedicated to being Tigers fans. Heck, if you look on YouTube, Anthony Bourdain visited one of those. And finally, the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. Orioles equivalent in terms of team makeup, but they wear the same caps as the Cincinnati Reds. They are hamstrung by teeny budgets. Unlike every other team I'm discussing today, the Carp are not owned by a major corporation. They're owned by the Matsuda family, who also owns Mazda. That said, their ballpark is the second most recent opened in Japan. The Mazda Zoom Zoom Stadium Hiroshima is the first real retro ballpark. So it's got an asymmetrical outfield. It directly abuts the bullet train tracks in Hiroshima. And it really does feel like their equivalent of a Camden Yards. Over on the other league, the Pacific League, the Hokkaido Nipponham Fighters, playing up north in a suburb of Sapporo, the northernmost team. I'd say they very much have a Padres roster with the ballpark that looks like what Globe Life Field in Arlington was supposed to look like before it got value engineered to death. Escon Field Hokkaido opened in 2023, and it is a fantastic addition to NPB. I believe it's only their second ever retractable roof ballpark. They also have a hotel with a hot spring in said ballpark named Tower 11 after two of their most famous alumni, Yu Darvish and Shohei Ohtani. Their roster has youth, it has potential, and in a podcast that I recorded last night, I called for them to win the pennant. The Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles, a little bit further south on the main island of Honshu, very much a Royals roster with a Blue Jays budget. Because they're owned by Rakuten, they can afford to bring in major free agents, but their team emphasis right now is on speed. They led the league in stolen bases last year. In 2013, after the devastating earthquake, tsunami, and Fukushima nuclear disaster, the Eagles defeated the Yomiuri Giants for their one championship in their franchise's history. Then again, that franchise history is only 20 years old, so give them time. They'll get back into it. So if you're a Diamondbacks or a Rays fan, you might have some affinity to the Golden Eagles as well. The Saitama Seibu Lions are one of two teams that play in Tokyo's outskirts in the Pacific League, and I consider them very much the Cardinals equivalent. They had a run in the 1980s from 82 to 92 where they won, I believe, 8 Japan Series titles and 9 Pacific League pennants. They called that team Invincible Seibu for a reason. They have the most championships in the Pacific League for now. The Hawks are doing their level best to catch up. The Chiba Lotte Marines very much is a athletics equivalent because they moved around a bunch. They started in Tokyo, moved to Sendai, down to Kawasaki, which is a suburb of a suburb between Yokohama and Tokyo, and then out to their home on Tokyo Bay near Tokyo Disneyland. That said, their fan base is the loudest and proudest in the Pacific League. If you look on YouTube, you'll find a documentary called The Zen of Bobby V, named after Bobby Valentine, chronicling his 2006 season managing the Marines. And you get to interview some of the fans in what they call the Oendan. That's the cheer sections in the outfield bleachers. The ballpark is a bit of a concrete donut, though, and the fact that it's located right on Tokyo Bay means those winds at night are rather killer. If you're going, bring a jacket. The Oryx Buffaloes, the team I'm subtly repping with my shirt here, are very much the Seattle Mariners equivalent with a White Sox media profile. The Hanshin Tigers take up a lot of the media airspace in the Osaka, Kobe, and Kyoto area. So the Buffaloes are very much a second-tier team in that respect. But it's not just the Ichiro connection with the Buffaloes. They also are an amazing pitching development machine. Anyone remember Yoshinobu Yamamoto? He got his start with the Buffaloes and won 3 consecutive pitching triple crowns and MVPs before skipping over to the majors. They've also had a frustrating postseason history, winning their first championship in 25 years back in 2022. And finally, out on the western island of Kyushu, the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks. Dodgers budget, more championships. The SoftBank Corporation funds this team to the point where it almost competes with the major leagues in terms of total payroll. And they've been known to poach players from the draft system as well. Carter Stewart Jr. was a first-round selection by the Atlanta Braves. He got sniped by the Hawks by getting a larger and more lucrative contract. He's still over in Japan. In the 2010s, the Hawks were the team of the decade. Not only did they win more than half of the championships, they beat every single Central League team at least once while doing so. So if that didn't give you an idea of which team calls to you most, let's go with fashion sense. Jerseys are important. Here's my collection. Any of these call out to you? You'll note the Masahiro Tanaka Rakuten Eagles jersey, the Oryx Buffaloes road jersey for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. I had to get a couple of foreign players in the mix, so that's why you'll see a Dragons jersey for Dayan Viciedo, the Cuban tank, and a Giants jersey for Alex Ramirez, who went on to coach the Yokohama DNA Baystars and has been inducted into the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame. There's also one jersey cut off at the bottom for a defunct team, and that has Tuffy Rhodes on the back. In my opinion, the biggest Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame snub out there. And if not the jerseys, maybe some of the familiar faces will help jog your memory and lead you to make a choice. If the names aren't being recognized, let me run them down. From top left to top right, bottom left to bottom right. Roki Sasaki, Shohei Ohtani, you can't escape his face anywhere in Japan. Yu Darvish, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Masataka Yoshida, Yuki Matsui, Shota Imanaga, Shinnosuke Ogasawara, Masahiro Tanaka, who is still playing for the Yomiuri Giants this year, Tomoyuki Sugano, Seiya Suzuki, Kenta Maeda, Kodai Senga, Yusei Kikuchi, Shintaro Fujinami, and Koyo Aoyagi. And fun fact, all four of these MLB alumni are managing in NPB right now. You may have seen Tsuyoshi Shinjo's bombastic entrance as Big Boss on a hovercraft at the Sapporo Dome opening day game in 2022, the first year of his tenure. That's Kyuji Fujikawa on the right, Masato Yoshii second from left, and Shingo Takatsu all the way on the left. Now, how to follow the league from North America, and this is shameless plug number one. The Pacific League has every single home game available up to the Japan series on their paid service called Pacific League TV. If you go check out the link right there, pacificleague.com/PTV, you'll be able to watch opening weekend for free because they have made it a promotion that all games in March, which just so happens to cover opening weekend, are covered for free. If you wish to subscribe afterwards, it's about $10 per month, and you will be able to access an archive of games going back to 2012. If you catch a particular game in 2013, you may even see me up the third base foul line. If your pocketbook is a little slim, you can catch games as they happen for free, just without any commentary, on Dingo TV. Look for the Baseball Network. Up to 3 games will be broadcast at a time. If you're in Latin America or the Caribbean, the One Baseball Network has you covered with live gaming. And the English YouTube channel has a once a month simulcast with English commentary and myself on the microphone. The next one is this Sunday at 12 a.m. Eastern, or this Saturday, 9 p.m. Pacific, as the Saitama Seibu Lions host the Hokkaido Nipponham Fighters. It's honestly a bucket list item to get to be able to do this on the side as volunteer work, and the bunch of yahoos we end up chatting with just makes the sleep deprivation that much more fun. For the Central League, it is extremely inconsistent. Unlike in MLB, NPB teams control their own media rights. So you have 6 little fiefdoms in the Central League, and it's hard to get them all to argue. The Hanshin Tigers do have their own streaming service, but it only covers home games. Otherwise, you'll have to look for highlights on YouTube, either from the team's channels or from other syndicated sources. The NPB, the league itself, only has the rights to 2 things: the All-Star games, there's 2 of them, and the Japan series. So you'll only be able to watch highlights on the NPB official YouTube channel. That said, there are plenty of social media options. Japan Ball, who partnered with me to release the Japanese baseball travel guide, is more than just a tourism agency. Since Bob Bavasi started it in over 20 years ago, they've covered South Korea, the Dominican Republic, Alaska. They've got a trip to Cooperstown for Ichiro's induction coming up this summer. And of course, multiple trips to Japan, not just for Japanese games, but for the major leagues when they have their season openers there. In a cafe in the Shinjuku area, there's even a Hall of Fame for dedicated travelers who have been on multiple trips or seen every single team. Despite my protestations, Japan Ball has not let me in because I did my trip myself. If you subscribe to their newsletter, you'll be caught up on the regular with scores, news, and more tidbits. They also have some excellent opinion articles on their website. So please give Shane Barclay some love and go check out his website. Shameless plug too, you'll also be able to purchase the Japanese Baseball Travel Guide from his web store. I also have to shout out Rob Fitz, the Tokyo chapter chairman and 2025 Henry Chadwick Award winner, for his incredible selection of books that you can purchase discussing Masanori Murakami, oral histories of playing in Japan, the barnstorming tours that Japanese baseball players took in North America, and more. And if you're on social media, there's plenty of options as well. The NPB subreddit has plenty of news available, and the NPB on Reddit, Twitter, and Blue Sky account will syndicate the top stories from there. I believe today is actually Mr. Baseball Day on the subreddit, where everyone gets to watch the movie all at once. On YouTube, Yakyu Cosmopolitan and Gaijin Baseball are both excellent resources. Cosmopolitan focuses more on the current players, while Gaijin Baseball is the best of the best for English language historical content. Jim Allen and John E. Gibson, two Japanese baseball sports writers, ran Japan Baseball Weekly for many seasons. Go take a look at their archive. I don't believe they're starting up again because John has moved back to North America. But if you want to listen to more of the punditry around the league, that would be where I'd point you to, especially to get your feet wet. But ultimately, the best way to enjoy Japanese baseball is in person. Here's the selling points. The tickets are cheaper, and half the league now has English ticketing services, so you don't have to worry about machine translation or accidentally buying a ticket to the wrong game like I did. The food and the drink are also cheaper. In addition to being able to bring in your own, most beers are served in draft kegs toted around in backpacks by the servers right to your seat. The reason for both of these is because most of the team's owners view the teams as marketing expenses, loss leaders for their actual products. So there isn't as much of a profit motive, and there isn't as much of treating their fans like ATMs. And those fans are incredibly welcoming, easy to chat with, easy to make friends, especially if you sit in the outfield bleachers where the cheering sections are. You'll also see some familiar names. Each NPB team is allowed 4 foreign players, and they can't all be pitchers or all be hitters, so you have to go for a balance. If anyone remembers Franmil Reyes from the Cleveland Guardians or the Kansas City Royals, he absolutely raked for the Fighters last season. I wouldn't be surprised if he hits 40 plus home runs this year. And yes, a lot of bunts. The Japanese game is more contact driven. So there is a lot more putting the ball in play, more sacrifice hits, more bunts, especially in the Central League where they don't have the DH. But I have some examples for how that in-game atmosphere can't be beat. I want you to imagine a European soccer atmosphere with the chants and the trumpets and the drums and organized cheerleaders who will make sure you have practiced and distribute lyric sheets around for every single inning. The visiting section in one side of the outfield for the top halves, the home section for the bottom halves. This is a video I took in 2019 of the Chiba Lotte Marines fans. It's not just an exercise for your lungs, it's a full body cardio workout. Take a look and a listen. That's a lot of volume, you have to admit. Now, you may have seen some photos of these oddly shaped balloons being thrown about at Japanese baseball parks. They're called jet balloons, and the idea is that during the 7th inning stretch, which they call the Lucky Seven, the idea is to stretch your lungs by inflating a balloon. An interesting Japanese quirk is that they will play the visiting team's theme song before the top of the 7th and the home team's theme song before the bottom of the 7th. Imagine if New York, New York, or OK Blue Jays played before the top of the 7th at Fenway. Japanese game is really different. And when all those balloons go off, the visual effect is incredible. The last video clip I have to show is from my favorite Japanese baseball game that I've attended. This was on that 2019 trip, and it was the Hanshin Tigers versus the Yomiuri Giants. So this is Red Sox versus Yankees at Fenway. The game has gone to extras after the Tigers tied it late. Japanese baseball games will end in a tie after 12 innings. This is after the home team won, the Tigers won on a 12th inning, 2 out, grand slam that I thought went foul because I couldn't see it clearly. And that win moved the Tigers just ahead of the Giants for second place. So this is after an extra innings game. Look how many people are still around and listen to them singing. How could you not want to be a part of that happy throng? That's why I titled this talk, There is Belonging in the Bleachers. You enter there a foreigner, you leave there a fan. I put up my link tree so you can access later on. You can find me on Blue Sky under Gabe Lerman. You'll also be able to find the links to purchase the Japan Ball Travel Guide to Japanese Baseball on Amazon or Rakuten Kobo at the link. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
You know, you talked about, excuse me, foreign players that played in Japan, and I believe was, oh Lord, I'm getting old. You mentioned the Hall of Fame snub.
Tuffy Rhodes.
Tuffy Rhodes. Why do you feel that?
Because he is the most successful foreign batter in Japanese history who is not already in there. In addition to tying Sadaharu Oh for now third best single season home run count at 55, he hit 464 career home runs in Japan. He won the Pacific League MVP in 2001, 10 All-Star nods, 7 Silver Sluggers, 4 times leading the league in home runs. His being left out is a mistake, really.
You know, I remember, excuse me, when I was in high school, a ball player from Montreal was in a dispute. You know exactly what I'm going to talk about.
Warren Cromartie,
who had the contract dispute and said, I'll show you. I'm going to go over and play in Japan. He played for Yomiuri for 7 years. And I looked him up while you were talking because I wanted to see just exactly how well he did in Japan. That dude raked. He hit 321 in 7 seasons in Japan with 171 home runs.
Won a Japan series, actually released a book co-written with Robert Whiting, another excellent author on Japanese baseball. Look up Slugging It Out in Japan. I found a used copy, and it's one of my favorite Japanese baseball books.
In our lending library, we have a copy of You Gotta Have Wa.
Yep, that's another good one by
another great book
by Robert Whiting. I find that some of his stuff holds up, but given that writing is now, 20 years old by now?
I have an updated copy.
Has moderated.
All right, if you'd like to ask questions of our presenter, Gabe Lerman tonight, go down to the bottom of the screen and hit the react button. You'll see another button marked raise hand. Raise your hand and we will get you in line to ask questions of our presenter this evening. First up, Buckle up, folks. My twin is here, Dave Lippman. Dave, go.
I thought that was a fascinating presentation. I spent 3 years in Japan, but I was never able to see a ball game because I was out in the sticks defending democracy at an AFRCS station in Sasebo. So I couldn't get out to see the Fukuoka uh, team. And we did do a story about them. I believe Rich Gossage pitched for them for a year in 1990, which means we missed each other. My question is, have you had any opportunity to talk with the Gaijin ball players about their experiences of playing in Japan, what they thought about it both on and off the field, both dealing with the style of play and coping with living in a country where you can't find a McDonald's, the food comes in small portions and is all great presentation but very little food. There's no zoning, which means there can be an industrial waste site next to a grade school. The streets are all narrow, and comic books for girls age 13 are X-rated, which blew my mind when I saw one.
I think that we were just mentioning You Gotta Have Wa. That has an excellent rundown of some ball players' experiences. Robert Fitz's book, Remembering Japanese Baseball, ditto. I haven't had a chance to actually chat with any of the foreign players, aside from the occasional chatter up sessions that that Japan Ball hosted, some of which included NPB alumni. You can check out those chatter up sessions on YouTube, the replays, to get a more contemporary sense of how the players are. My book is very much focused on if for fans who want to travel, not so much the players who are already there. I will say that it's a lot easier to find McDonald's now. Going to a Makudo is definitely a part of every single trip. Not because like the food's that much different, it's just tradition at this point.
I got to tell you, my 3 years in Japan, I found the Japanese very racist towards the gaijin. I'd go into a department store to buy a warship model, and the security guard would follow me around. Like, look, you think I'm really going to steal a 1/700 scale model of the seaplane tender Chiyoda? And the girl I dated, she was a broadcaster and a TV news broadcaster. I was doing TV news. I wanted to see her studio. No, she couldn't let me see that because it would wreck her reputation. We couldn't eat in town because she'd be seen dining with a gaijin. It would wreck her reputation. She couldn't introduce me to her friends. It would wreck her reputation. But would I take her to the States? It's like, hey, pal, if it wrecks your reputation to be seen with me, why should I take you to New Jersey to be seen with me? So, we broke up. And I'm just wondering also, if that's an issue with, the Japanese fans of that. For you telling me that Tuffy Rhodes not being in the Hall of Fame, that tells me that they still think the Americans, the gaijin, are the guys that they were supposed to mistreat after that little fracas in Bataan.
I would argue that the things have warmed up. Randy Bass finally made it into the Japanese Baseball Hall of Fame,
Oh, really?
I believe in a year or so prior. Ditto for Alex Ramirez. So there is thawing in that respect. And I can say, having been there 4 times myself, the most recent in 2023, it has become more foreigner friendly in the major cities. I can't speak to the rural parts, which I think Dave you were referring to,
Yeah,
but
south of
because of the tourism
at the end of the
in
line in Kyushu.
yeah, because of the tourism in Osaka, in Kyoto, in Hiroshima, and especially in Tokyo with the Olympics, there's a lot more English you can get around with. I don't know how people did it without Google Translate, let's be real. But I
Yeah.
found that once you get to chatting with them, Japanese people are incredibly welcoming. They're warm, they're curious, and I'm grateful to have the chance to work with a few of them uh, through Pacific League and through other opportunities.
Yeah, I'd get ambushed by high school students wherever I went who had a list of questions to ask me about, what I thought about Japan for their school projects, and
Oh
I'd
yeah.
answer them. They'd all go bowing and stuff, and then after they were done, they all wanted the group picture, and they'd say, "Okay, guys, all right, now everybody smile and say, remember Pearl Harbor." And
Oh Lord.
yeah, I had some good laughs with that. The other thing that gave me a bizarre laugh was that my pals would go to Fukuoka. They go to these extremely expensive um, nightclubs there because the Japanese would pay for their drinks and food because they wanted to meet actual Americans, especially the black ones. They paid one of my female shipmates, offered her a large sum of money if they could touch her hair, and she said, "Not not in your life." But they did import women from Europe, including this one Polish woman who was eager to take a break from entertaining the Japanese guys. They brought her up to the base so she could see our studio, and she was wearing a wedding ring. And my buddy asked her, "What does your husband think about you bringing home all these dollars and yen and pounds sterling for uh, entertaining Japanese guys in Fukuoka?" And she said, "Oh, well, he isn't bothered as long as I don't bring home a baby."
Let me get some other people in here who've got some questions. I got a pretty long line, Dave. We love you to death. We really do.
I'll let you go, but thank you for
I appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so much. Let's go to Dixie Tarango. Dixie, help me out here, man. How you doing?
Lions Cap, much love. Well done.
Okay. Tuffy Rhodes has gotten a lot of airtime tonight. Why is that particularly appropriate today?
Oh, that's because of the 3 home runs on opening day you're making a reference to. That's correct.
He is the only National League player ever to hit 3 home runs on opening day, which is tomorrow.
Justice for Tuffy, basically.
Your presentation is great. I love seeing all those names. Check out my hat.
Yeah, I love the retro logo.
I can make your presentation just that much better.
Go for it, Dixie.
I have an extreme bias toward maps. You need a couple of maps. You need a map of Japan showing where all the teams are, and you need a map showing where one league is and the other league is. If you had those 3 things, your presentation would be perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for the feedback, Dixie.
Holy moly, that's a great idea. Why didn't we think of that last week, Gabe?
Beats me.
Holy moly. We had a dry run of this last week, and I had made some suggestions to him. Man, Dixie, I wish I had you in there now because that's a great idea. Thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate that. Holy moly! I want to ask Gabe. So everybody on
Wait,
the call
I think we still got another question from Craig.
Okay, Craig, go. Sorry, Craig.
You're blocked. There you go.
Well, I just wish Gabe's presentation was last week before I drafted Yusei Kikuchi and Shota Amanaga, because now I know the correct pronunciation.
Imanaga is going to be an amazing get for the Cubs. He was great last year. Now that he's had a year to adjust, I think he'll do really well for you.
That's great. So you're talking about how you got to have Wah is a little dated. How about Mr. Baseball? How is that holding up?
Not much better, to be honest. Thankfully, the prevalence of Japanese-style toilets has dissipated. You will still find the squatty potty every once in a while, but it's not going to be as frequent as it was back in the 1980s, like Mr. Baseball was. That said, they actually had real NPB players not only advising, but even having cameos in the movie. LeRon Lee, the career batting average leader, I believe has a cameo as one of the fellow gaijin hanging out in the bar. Brad Leslie, who would wind up having an acting and a wrestling career in Japan. If you've ever seen MXC or Takeshi's Castle, he's one of the big hulking brutes stopping people. He shows up in the movie as the Giants pitcher who choke slams a Chunichi Dragon player. So there's elements of it that fit, but I don't think as many foreign players end up in commercials like Jack Elliott did. That may have been a case back in the 80s when Randy Bass shaved his famous beard off for a Gillette commercial, but not so much anymore. All the advertising money is going to Otani right now anyway.
What? Excuse me. Sorry, Roger Kathman, you're up, man. How you doing, Raj?
All right. You had said like 5 managers were fired. From what I heard years ago, that was very unusual. Is it still unusual for them to fire managers?
It may be more of a suggested time to retire as opposed to an outright firing. In the case of Akinobu Okada, who had won his Japan series in 2023, it was a case of, I've done my piece, I'm old, I want to sit on my couch and retire. For the Buffaloes manager, it was a case of the team won the last 3 Pacific League pennants and finished out of the playoffs. I have to fall on my sword here. It must be me. So it's not as often that it happens. The Dragons finally getting rid of their manager is actually a good sign for them. The Eagles tend to go through managers too quickly, in my opinion.
I'm going to call it here and say that this is the very first SABR meeting ever recorded with the use of the term squatty potty. And if it's not, I want to see the other one. Ryan McClanahan, save me, help. How you doing?
Good. This is awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. Are all the teams actually, are they owned by corporations?
Yes, all but one, actually. So the Yomiuri Giants don't play in Yomiuri. They're owned by the Yomiuri newspaper. The only team that isn't corporate owned is the Carp in Hiroshima. They're owned by the Matsuda family, who runs the Mazda Corporation. So they're the only ones without a corporate owner, and thus not that much in terms of budget.
Are the players considered, I guess, employees of that corporation?
I honestly don't believe so. I think
Okay.
it has to do with their contracts. They're held by NPB uniform contract rules, not SoftBank or Rakuten or Hanshin contract rules. They are separate business units within the organization structure. I know this because I went and bought all the NPB owners' shares on TD Direct Investing, just so I have a little bit of skin in the game.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome, Ryan.
So my good friend Dan Evans wanted me to ask you about Cochin Stadium and the experience there. Could you comment for a few minutes on that?
Sure thing. And hello, Dan. Hopefully you're enjoying the replay. Koshien Stadium is the oldest continuously operating baseball stadium in Japan. It's one of the 4 that Babe Ruth played on that's still in existence. It was also the home of that last video clip I showed you from 2019. The all-dirt infield is hallowed in high school baseball. If your team makes it to the Koshien High School baseball tournament, you're allowed to pick up a little bit of that infield dirt and seal it in a bag so you can take it back home as a memento. The Tigers do so well with the attendance. For the last 2 seasons, they've sold out the entire year within a day of ticket sales opening. You can't go buy tickets to the Tigers right now.
It's interesting you say that because Dan emailed me before our meeting tonight, and he had some interesting stats regarding NPB attendance. And I'm going to read right off of his email. 3 NPB teams would be in the top 7 for MLB attendance. The Hanshin Tigers, Yomiuri Giants, and the SoftBank Hawks would rank well. If you include the NPB teams in the top 7 attendance per game, Hanshin comes in at number 2 with a per game attendance of 41,800. Yomiuri in 6 at 39.2 and SoftBank in 7th at 37.8. So the top 7 would look like this: Dodgers, Hanshin, Phillies, Padres, Yankees, Yomiuri, and SoftBank. And another interesting comment that he came out with is that the average home attendance of an NPB game is just about 2,000 fans more than in Major League Baseball game.
And that's the affordability factor I mentioned earlier. The fact that you can sit behind home plate at Meiji Jingu Stadium for a Swallows game and it'll only run you around 5,600 yen or around 40 US dollars. You can't get deals like that in North America anymore. The beer pours wound up being between 600 and 850 yen, so like $4 to $6 US. The food, in addition to being able to bring in your own, the food is just amazing. You have to search for bad food in Japan. The hot dogs are good, the pizza's good, but you got to go for the local stuff. The karaage, the edamame, the curry bowls, the famous extruded potato long fries. Uh, it's really a better experience. And you've seen the passion the Japanese fans bring to the ballpark. They make it welcoming for visitor fans, in part because the nation is so small and it's easy to hop on a bullet train and 3 hours later you're in the visiting ballpark. But the visiting team will sell merch at the home ballpark. They'll have their own cheer section. They'll have their own songs on the PA. It's more communal, more of a community feel than individual. One thing I definitely noticed: don't jeer the opposing fan or the opposing players. Cheer for your guys. I tried that once. My very first NPB game. I honestly don't know if the broadcast picked it up, but I have to go back and listen. Andrew Jones, yes, with a W, the famous Yankee and Braves outfielder, was playing DH for the Golden Eagles, the visiting team at the game I was at. And I got up and hollered, "Hey, when was the last time you were shouted at in English? Your best years started with a 19. Time to retire." And I was told by the Japanese fellow in front of me, very politely but firmly, "Sit down, be quiet. We don't do that here." Ever since then, I've noticed it's always boosting your guy. Even if they're struggling, it's do your best, player's name here.
Wow. Are you a Blue Jays fan, considering you're from Toronto?
I was. I mean, if you can see, you can't see behind me on the wall because of the lighting situation, but I have 7 years of ballpark passes and game pass cards mounted on the wall with all the ticket receipts. I was a dyed-in-the-wool Jays fan. I was there before the 2015 season when everything just came together, and well, it was fantastic. Halcyon days. Lately, the team's vibes have been rancid. I'm not going to lie. Ever since it was up 8-1 to the Mariners in Game 2 of the Wild Card Series. And the pandemic did have an effect on that. I went from going to a dozen games a year down to one. And in 2020, they didn't show up north of the border at all.
Do you follow anybody now or no?
I do follow the Blue Jays. The fact that they got blacked out on MLB.TV scorched my scones a little bit, because for a while they weren't, but then the team owner, Rogers, which owns the cable company, the ballpark, the regional sports network, and the team, decided, no, we want it on our own streaming service now. So that cost MLB money because I couldn't get every team on MLB.TV.
Yeah. Well,
I'm more of a Japanese baseball fan.
Let's just make it hard to watch, right?
Yeah, and that's why I keep emphasizing blackout free. Yes, it means getting up at 5 a.m. for a weekday game, but hey, you can tune in late, baseball for breakfast. Not a bad thing. Or if you're a night owl like me, on the weekends, you get that midnight matinee or the 1 a.m. start, and you just tune in for a little bit, and it lulls you to sleep because it's the same rhythms, just with a lot more volume.
This has been a lot of fun. All right. We're back Monday, March 31st, with Gregory Duhamel joining us to discuss his book, Clinton Oval, A Lost Mill City Ballpark. The registration link is in the SABR events calendar at sabr.org/events, or in our meeting booklet published each Monday in the Monday Message newsletter. If you are subscribed to our automatic sign-up service, you'll get your Join the Meeting link Monday morning. Don't delete that email. It's your ticket to entry. And finally, if you're a baseball fan watching on YouTube and you like what you see, please like this video and subscribe to our channel to be alerted to each of our weekly uploads. And if you are not yet a member, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community, offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom. SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world and even in Japan. For more information, go to sabr.org today. Gabe Lerman, you're spectacular. Thank you very much.
It's been my pleasure, Bruce. Take care, everyone.
We appreciate you. We'll see you Monday night. Have a good night, everybody.